Okay, great. So hi there, I'm Rebecca Allen, Global Board Director at the Branded Content Marketing Association. Now, October and November are always key months for marketing planning for the next year. But I think this year is particularly an interesting challenge because things have been so unpredictable for the last two. So we wanted to ask, as the world is opening up and adapting to a new reality, what's the branded content landscape going to look like? So we've asked two experts in the field to have a quick chat today to give their thoughts on the key trends we're likely to see in branded content in 2022. So without further ado, welcome Adam and Neil. Would you be able to just give us a brief intro into who you are, where you work for, and what your role is, particularly when it comes to branded content?
Sure thing, I'll kick off. My name's Neil Lamb. I'm the Global VP of Entertainment Partnerships at the Story Lab. Story Lab is the entertainment consultancy division within Dentsu, the large media agency. And we really have two sides of our business. On one side of our business, we are an entertainment and production company ourselves, owning rights to such formats as Ninja Warrior and All Star Driving School. But the side of the business I work on is much more working with our brand clients in order to help them take a position within entertainment. So my background was I used to be head of EMEA product placement and partnerships for Marvel Studios within the Walt Disney Company. So I came into Story Lab very much with a partnerships mindset, but also we've seen that grow a lot into branded content, creating new business models, new creative ways of working on ad-funded programming, and yeah, from a global perspective as well as how we ensure that all branded content that we're producing is relevant and distributable from a global perspective.
Fantastic, thank you. Adam.
Yeah, and I'm Adam Kaczmarski. I'm a creative producer at Electric Robin, who are a creative publishing studio that sit within the Banner group of companies. So our role within group is to be the branded content specialist. We make a lot of content, short form and long form, that sits across a variety of different platforms, from social media to kind of long form documentaries, and part of the remit of what we do is that we found ourselves working with more and more brands recently and agencies like Story Lab in order to take our expertise in making kind of television content, as it was, and transferring that into the brand space. So
fantastic. Could you give us some examples of brands that you work with, particularly any that you share?
We work with all kinds of different brands across a wide variety of different verticals. So it might be from finance brands like NatWest. We've worked with Innocent. We've worked with Coca-Cola. We've worked with Twitter. We work also with channels and publishers themselves, so the people like the Daily Mail and Facebook directly helping them activate on some of their kind of brand deals that they might be doing. So that's where we position ourselves, and we also, I think, share some clients in common. Isn't that right, Neil?
Yes, many clients.
Yeah.
More as we get to know each other better.
Yeah.
And from our side, because we're part of the Dentsu family, obviously the easiest for us to work with clients that are already part of the business. So we do a lot of work with Land Rover, ABI, Heineken are another client of ours, IKEA. Yeah, the list is growing on a daily basis, which is really exciting to see more and more clients wanting to play in this space.
Great stuff. I mean, this video is definitely going to be to a European audience, if not global. So I think there'll be some recognizable brands within that group there. So brands have had a fair few challenges when it comes to marketing through the pandemic and lockdown in particular. One was how to get the messaging right in the very different consumer climate. And another was just the very practical implications of lockdown when it came to actually producing content. Firstly, what kind of shifts of approach have you seen? I'm particularly interested in the ones you think are actually going to stay around. A lot of creativity and innovation just had to happen, So yeah, what do you think about that?
We found it really interesting. I have to say, in the past 2 years, our year-on-year growth has exceeded what we were expecting to see. because we'd be going in to speak to clients about, you know, creating their own TV shows, buying into editorial airtime. It can be quite a scary and seemingly risky proposition compared to a very traditional telling your brand story in 30 seconds and just buying media. So there had always been, you know, we worked with many clients, but there was a little bit of resistance sometimes, and it was always deemed as a nice to have and kind of one of those things that could easily be cut in favor of more direct marketing. But I think what we really saw was, certainly during lockdown, was these people were sat at home and everyone was watching Netflix, Disney Plus, to a certain extent Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus. And I think the message really started to land that you just can't buy your way onto those platforms, and people are watching the streaming services and are not seeing adverts. So there's very few appointment to view TV shows anymore that aren't on the streaming platforms. So we saw a real mindset shift and a real cultural shift from the marketing directors and the client teams we've been trying to engage with, now coming to us and going, I've not seen my advert, where is it? And we're like, well, this is what we've been telling you. So certainly that mindset of having to find new ways of connecting with an audience really came through. And I guess directly related to lockdown, and I think something that's really going to stick around, is this idea of not just creating an advert that talks to someone and tells them what you do, but this idea of being able to get your brand story across and what you stand for and your purpose as a company has really come through very powerfully and accelerated in the last 2 years. And I think when you're talking about your brand story, your purpose, your what you stand for as a company, you know, it makes perfect sense to start at long form, entertainment first business models, because that's how you can get it across. And really this mindset of we need the hero piece of content, a TV show, a film, whatever it is, to tell our brand story and to tell our purpose. And then that has to relate back to our very much more kind of functional sales or product driving marketing campaigns. So there seems a lot more cohesion and really understanding the value of being able to tell those long-form stories.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you said the word purpose, which I think is more important than ever. And I think it was already a wave that has started, but I think there was a big question mark in consumers' minds about, are you pushing product at me? I'm not sure if this is kind of appropriate. And a lot of brands are going, I don't know what to say now. You know, I don't know whether to upset people. Yeah. I think, yeah, storytelling is, for me, it kind of makes complete sense. What about you, Adam? Have you seen any particular shifts that you think are going to stick around?
Well, I mean, if they are shifts, I do hope they stick around, but not to kind of, you know, repeat anything that's already been said. But I think that one of the things that we found when we started doing content during the pandemic time for a supermarket like Tesco, for example, the narrative, as you've said, became much less about what it is that they sell, but about the people that work there and the role that they play as an organization with, you know, with getting people the things that they thought were, you know, available every day. You know, how, you know, when there was the issues of not being able to kind of people go to the shops and having to increase, you know, deliveries, and actually what that means on a very kind of real level to people every day. So I do hope that, as you've said, that if there is anything that we can get from this, that narrative that comes out of this is one that's based more around purpose and, you know, around people as well, rather than organizations, and remembering that it's actually people that play kind of a key role in all of this stuff, in the entertainment, in the stories. And if you can actually tell, sort of as we try to, you know, tell the human stories that exist behind why a brand is doing anything, then that helps people connect with it.
Absolutely. And what about from a creative standpoint? I mean, there was a lot of pivoting that kind of, we've done that word to death, but there was a lot that had to change about how we actually produced content. Do you think any of the, you know, the techniques that were developed or suddenly, you know, thought of on the hop might stick around also?
I was working actually with, I think I'm allowed to say because it's all in the public domain. So I was working with Vodafone Business for a big campaign all of last year and this year that was a branded content partnership with CNN, and it was all around their business offering. And it was very interesting that it very moving into a period where we're creating this content in a COVID world. to the first point as well, it very swiftly shifted from being about the business and the technology to being about the human impact of that and the human benefit. And actually, we created 4 bespoke videos for them, and the one that got the most engagement and the most likes and everything that scored off the charts was one they were talking about connected education. And normally they would go up there, and it was a school in Scotland they were dealing with, and CNN would have gone up there, filmed everything themselves, and captured a really beautiful thing. We couldn't. So what they did was they just sent tablets up to the school we're using. The kids just got sent home with the tablets and got told to film it themselves. And so it actually became almost a user-generated piece of content. But it was really, you were therefore really seeing the hands-on actual people who were using these devices on a daily basis, and these kids playing with them and interacting with them. So it had a really, as we were saying, a much more human aspect, not just to the stories, but the way the creative was formed.
Amazing, and that probably actually turned out better than it would have been if not.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Happy accident, yeah. Good stuff. So looking forward to 2022, as I say, lots of people are in planning mode at the moment. Are there any key themes or trends that you think we should be watching out for when it comes to branded content, obviously?
I think that there's very much a desire to kind of celebrate and to celebrate togetherness. I think that's what we're getting. We're getting a lot of briefs about. And I actually think that perhaps kind of like having more stuff that allows people to either gather or allows things to be big again. I think there's a certain desire from brands to kind of like, Zoom interviews are great, and it is great to be able to do user generated things, but as content makers, what we found was that we had to go into a place where we were forced to make shows that might have previously have been studio shows, and make them like this. However, there is still a desire to have those studio shows with the live audience, with people riffing off each other in actually a natural kind of together environment. And I do sort of think that we'll probably get to a place, I think, in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, when being able to celebrate that togetherness again and take everything that we did learn, but just amplify it and sort of make it better from the fact that we can have shared experiences together, will hopefully be sort of a place that we get to over the next year and a half or so.
Yeah,
we're definitely seeing in terms of trends where we're working with clients to make new TV formats and everything. There's a lot of interest in it's interesting, homes is a really big generally at the moment, but certainly we've got a lot of clients that are looking at home makeover shows, healthier homes, all of that stuff, and travel and food. Everyone wants the next what's the next Great British Bake Off kind of thing. So we're seeing a lot of trends in those spaces, and I think now certainly to Adam's point about celebrating and kind of almost getting back a little bit to normal, is that I think travel is going to really come through big time.
Yeah, it's had a very hard time. I think people are itching to start traveling again. Okay, can you share maybe just one each example of a branded content campaign that's impressed you recently?
Does it have to be someone else's?
I mean, maybe one of your own and one of someone else's. How's that?
Okay, I would say then of the one, and this was UK specific, so I do apologise to any European team members who won't have seen this, but there was a really great Channel 4 TV show that was produced with Hellmann's Mayonnaise, and it was all about food waste. So they had Prue Leith, well-known cook, paired up with a doctor, and they were really, it was about creating healthy, nutritious family meals from what you might have left over. And it really played into this really, important theme at the moment around food waste. Hellmann's Mayonnaise funded the entire thing because of FHSS laws. Their placement in the show couldn't be quite so overt, but they did some really great activations around it. They set up an entire website and social platform where you could go and get the recipes. They actually created a recipe book, and just really kind of honed in on that whole idea of how they really wanted to help people with food waste.
Great.
And then from my side, for shameless plugging and promotion, I, just because it was a fascinating one, I started working with Land Rover on a new TV show 2 years ago, and we were just about to, and it was an adventure travel show, and there was an adventurer, and each week they were joined by a different celebrity, and initially it was all going to be filmed in Alaska. We were geared up to go, we were just about to start filming. 2 weeks before we start to film, the first lockdown hit. So, you know, we had to keep it on the boil, retool it. The entire thing ended up with the presenter changing. We ended up filming in Wales rather than in Alaska. We had different talent because it needed to be British-based talent. But yeah, about a month ago now, that went live on Channel 4 as well in prime time. And it's just, yeah, one of those things where it was a really, all puns intended, it was a really rocky road, but we got there in the end, and it's a fantastic piece, and just a testament to those clients that really stick with it and see the value and don't give up. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Adam, any best in class examples you can share?
Well, I was trying to think of one in particular, and sort of the ones that I did think of were ones that Neil has sort of mentioned as well. But I think that obviously there was, you know, it's always good when people, you know, Dulux brought changing rooms back, for example, you know, and that was something that I think people kind of needed at the time. It was very much kind of like, you know, people were changing their homes and doing a lot of DIY. We know about that, and it was always nice to bring something back that kind of has that kind of like sort of slightly retro feel as well. So that was something that I just kind of think worked really nicely for the time. But I was just really impressed with, you know, how, you know, brands sort of took the challenges that were laid down, and there were a number of them, from, you know, the ones that we worked on with Tesco, where, you know, they moved the narrative away from what they would normally do, which would be, you know, talking maybe about price and things like that, and moved it into a place where banks were all of a sudden talking about the kind of the people that work there, as were supermarkets and petrol stations. And it's actually when you kind of broke it all down, you realize that, you know, as you know, things like technology, you know, that those things are there for a reason, and sometimes the things are so ubiquitous in your life you don't really realize why they're there. So those little bits of content that made them actually kind of apply to people and their kind of day-to-day lives, I think there were numerous examples, and I thought they were all handled, you know, really nicely, you know.
And I think that nicely brings us back to the beginning, what we were saying, that the legacy that will remain after all this, just you know, we don't know when it's all going to be over, but I think that's a really nice one that's happened, for sure. Okay, well, just to wrap up, everyone loves a tip or a trick. Can you give me one each of one piece of advice you'd give to any brand, either reinventing their content strategy or just starting out in branded content?
Be brave and trust the experts that you're dealing with. It is very, very different going forward than just producing a standard 30-second TV ad, and you know, even down to who, you know, what legislations the production falls under, how it can be handled and everything. But if you know, kind of on the Land Rover point, if you stick at it and you do see it through and you're working with the right people, then you can find great success. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting time to be within this. You just need to, yeah, hold your nerve and see it through, and work with the experts, like the Story Lab.
Thank you. Adam, any final tips?
I just think it's, remember kind of what the purpose of the content is to do, and that people are watching things because they really do want to be entertained. And it's fantastic that there's like a brand message in there, but remember that people very rarely kind of tune in to watch the adverts, right? You know, and if you are going to make a piece of content, try and kind of like have it in that place where you go, would somebody sit down, you know, with the audience that we're trying to reach, and would they choose to watch this? And there has to be kind of that little bit of entertainment, which I think speaks to when Neil says be a bit brave. And if you want to get into that place, be prepared to kind of maybe kind of think about going places which do sit outside kind of like that controllable sort of 30-second advert space, because the whole point of entertainment and things like that is that it's fun and it goes wrong, right? You know, people, what drama is drama for a reason. Drama, you know, life without drama just, you know, kind of goes along in a kind of like sort of in one, you know, sort of little wave. So if you do want to sort of move into that space, then yeah, just kind of consider that and kind of think, why does anyone want to watch this? And yeah, make them enjoy it.
Yeah, and sorry, sort of one other thing just to quickly add at the end is distribution. Think about distribution, because where you will distribute your content will potentially have an effect on the creative. So don't just go ahead and make it and then hope for the best. Like, get the distribution.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, just as a bit of a segue, that has been fascinating over, you know, the past kind of 18 months, and taking it away from just a pure branded content play. But as we've seen the rise, obviously now everyone sort of has access to probably one or more of the streaming services. And you see the success of something like a Squid Games, for example, shows that just with a brilliant format, you don't need known actors, and you don't even need it to be in the language, you know, that you're kind of watching it in. If something's brilliant, it's brilliant across, you know, across all markets. So, you know, consider that as well, that you don't necessarily always need kind of like, you know, like A-listers and it to fit for one particular market. Yeah.
Absolutely, completely agree. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting, insightful stuff.
Right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Absolutely. Take care. Thank you.
All right. Nice. Well, thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.